Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
I'm John.
This is our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. I can't say the word. And give this video a like.
Check out our podcast also below in the description. Subscribe to that as well.
And we really would appreciate it if you checked out manscaped.com. Use the promo code HAM. You get 20% off and free shipping. John's got his. Can you buzz it right now? Give the microphone a little buzz.
Lawnmower 3.0, Guy. Lawnmower 3.0, manscaped.com, promo code HAM. Get on it.
All right. So now we talk about the Niners and Kyler Murray. This game is fascinating for a week one game. I love having a divisional game week one, John. I think any divisional games week one are really interesting. This one in particular because Kyler's getting some sneaky MVP buzz, some under the radar, going to take a big next step. He had two really good, really different games against the 49ers last year. It's weird because if you go back and look, the box scores kind of tell you two different stories, right? One game he was mostly a runner. One game he was mostly a thrower. One game the Niners had a big deficit and came back and won. The other game, the Cardinals had a big deficit and made a late push and made it look closer than it was. And remember, those games were only played with 1 week in between.
Yeah,
or 2
and
weeks
it was
in
a short
between,
week.
I guess.
Remember,
Short
one of
week.
them was a Thursday night.
Niners didn't have Kittle for one of those games, so there are a lot of moving parts. This defense is different for Arizona, but specifically Kyler. If you had to choose from a Niners perspective, would you rather him have a big passing game, which was his second performance last year, or a big rushing game? Which one is more in the Niners' favor this week?
I would tend to lead rushing.
I would too.
I'd want him, if he has a 100-yard rushing game, the Niners can live with that. To me, 300-plus passing game would be a little scary. Obviously, they just paid DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, they have a star wide receiver for him to throw to. Just looking at his numbers, the two games last year against the Niners, over 70% completion, 4 touchdowns, no picks.
Yeah.
You didn't need to be Bill Walsh or Bill Belichick. You just watched him, whether it was against the Niners or against any team, it works, right? It's one of those where he is a potent runner. Lamar gets a lot of credit, and rightfully so. When I watch this guy run around, though, he's not quite as deadly as Lamar, but he ain't that far off. But to me, he is a potent thrower. His arm strength, his accuracy, he can throw these BBs at 20, 30 yards down the field. Right? He's not just some dink and dunk runner.
Kind of Russ-esque, right?
Where
Where running doesn't mean he's not going to throw.
I think he is a fantastic player.
Which is why they sacked him 7 times They did sack him 7 times in 2 games.
Well, because he will keep the play alive
Right.
behind the line of scrimmage, right? And part of that, Lamar Jackson, Russell, he'll do the 360s behind the line of scrimmage, and he'll kind of run into some guys. Their offensive line is not great. And it a little like Russell Wilson, right? It speaks to just what a freak show this guy is. Because if you put, let's say, Jared Goff or a Phillip Rivers type quarterback, they would have no chance. They do need this guy. Part of the reason in this offense they traded Josh Rosen, which has been proven out to be 100% the right decision, right? I mean, they nailed that. I think for the 49ers, running court, Lamar gave him some trouble in the rain last year. Obviously, Kyler was just, even though they beat him twice, it was clear he was a little bit of a thorn in their side, as he is for most teams. I think he's a big challenge guy when you factor in this. No preseason games. No live reps, really, of tackling. This is not an ideal. The Niners are the better team, but this is a challenging week one opponent when you just factor in. He gave them trouble last year in the middle of the season when they were playing well, and you had all these live reps. No live reps. And we've talked a lot ad nauseum, right? A lot of injuries. Fred Warner, we hope's back. Nick Bosa, D Ford back. They're going to have to be big. The defensive ends against Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson, whenever you play scrambling quarterbacks, you put a lot of pressure on those defensive ends to corral them, right?
And this offense is better from a passing standpoint because they've added DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk another year, Andy Isabella another year. They did draft a tackle, rookie right tackle in the 3rd round, so we'll see. Maybe their offensive line's better. But I think to your point, the scary thing with him, given the non-preseason, it's not just the live reps, it's fitness. Can you keep up with him for 4 quarters, chasing him around? Remember, they were up 16-0 in that first meeting last year, and that was the meeting that he ran the ball primarily. He had 8 rushes for 67 yards in that game. I think the other factor here is the Niners. The Niners' health. Let's talk about the other side of the football, right? Debo and Brandon Ayuk. Now, whether or not one of them plays or both of them plays, here we are in the middle of the week, and we don't know, which tells me even if Debo plays, is he 100% Debo on an injury in the foot that feels like when it happens to you, if it can happen again? Like, I don't think just because Debo steps on the field, like, you're out of the woods with him. Because I feel like this foot in the Jones fracture thing just creeps back up, especially if you rush a guy back.
I would be overly cautious. I would not rush him back if there's any question.
Here's the thing. So you have a not even close to full-strength 49ers passing game. You have a Cardinals passing game that just made DeAndre Hopkins a happy man. Like, if you had to pick, I'm with you. I don't want him – if he's throwing for 330 yards, which is what he basically did in the second meeting last year, we talk about – don't forget, like, he's had that game already against them. I know it's Kyle, and I love Kyle, but it might be hard to keep up if the Niners' passing attack is not 100%, whereas – this was not a great run defense last year, Arizona. You can run on them. They did try to make it a little better. They got, what's his name from Buffalo, at 10 sacks last year on the defensive line, the nose tackle. But that I think you can hang with. He's running all over the place. Kyle can control the clock, run the rock a bunch, have some big plays that way.
Little bit of a wild card. I mean, for both teams.
Jordan Phillips is the name.
Now the Niners are practicing in this. I look out my window, and I'm about 25 miles away from Levi Stadium. It's orange outside. We have these burning fires. The air quality is not great. That could impact both teams, but if you're going to get into this just running match with this team, because the one thing when you think Mike Leach, Cliff Kingsbury, spread it out, running around, it kind of just keeps you on the move, right? Kingsbury and Kyle are complete opposites, right? Kyle, at his core, wants to run the ball down your throat and play smash mouth defense. Like, it's clear. We've seen the way he drafts. We've seen what he likes in players. His philosophy is well established now. He likes throwing the ball, but at his core, he wants to just slam it down your throat.
Right.
Kingsbury, as you told me earlier today, Eno Benjamin made his team, which I like Eno Benjamin coming out of Arizona State, but that's kind of reminds me of Mike Leach, Texas Tech, little running backs. Like, they're not running it like Kyle. There's a reason they traded David Johnson.
But he's more of a powerful running back.
But I'm just saying, like, they're going to throw it to him out of the backfield or get him on draws. Like, they're going to throw the ball. I would expect – now the game dictates it, but they want to get Kyler in the 35-plus attempt range. That plays to their strength against this, especially when the 49ers – we don't know who the other starting corner is going to be, but we do know that the other starting corner opposite Richard Sherman is a major red flag and is also the major target, right, for offensive. If you're an offensive coordinator, as Kingsbury is, where would you set up most of your passing game coming Sunday? Away from 25? Yeah. I would imagine the DeAndre Hopkins. Now, we've seen Richard. I think he had a moment a couple last year where he moved around a little bit, but I think it's pretty well established. He thrives on the left side, or the defense is right? He's not traveling around, and they've talked about it. It's better for their defense.
Well,
but that does mean you leave another guy that I was at the Minnesota game, and they went back to back passes to Diggs.
True.
PI, catch, touchdown.
But unlike Minnesota, well, I guess it's not unlike Minnesota because they
could just throw DeAndre.
Yeah, but my point is, like, if you were to move Richard, wherever you moved him, there's another good receiver on the other side, right?
I'm saying ideally, though, if like
he would be on DeAndre Hopkins
the entire time, because that is also an ideal matchup for him. DeAndre's not a fast guy; he's a physical guy. You know, Diggs, that type wide receiver is not Richard's strong suit. He wants Devontae Adams. He wants DeAndre Hopkins. Let him just line up, be physical against that guy. And if I was the Cardinals and Richard's not moving around, DeAndre's on the other side the entire game.
Air quality check, John. It looks like it's about 48, 52, 46 down there in Santa Clara.
I don't know what that means.
It's not bad. That's solid.
Not as bad as up here.
No, even up here, it's not as bad as it looks right now, which is weird.